He was holding the ring when he saw them. 2 little girls, 4 years old. His ex-wife's hands on their shoulders, and their eyes, his eyes, staring back at him across a crowded street. She left 5 years ago, disappeared the night she found out what he really was. He became the most feared man in the city, built an empire on silence and blood, buried his past, moved on. He was going to propose to someone new. Tonight. But now, those children. His children. The ring in his pocket feels like a lie. His phone is ringing. His fiancée is waiting. But his heart just remembered how to break. And the most dangerous man in America is about to discover some wars can't be won with power. The rain didn't fall in New York. It accused. Min-jun stood outside Tiffany & Co. on 5th Avenue, the small blue box heavy in his coat pocket, heavier than the gun he carried at his ribs. Inside that box was a 3-carat diamond ring. Flawless, brilliant cut. Exactly what a man like him was supposed to give a woman like Sophia. Sophia. Beautiful. Elegant. The daughter of a Wall Street executive who asked no questions about where Min-jun's money came from. She smiled at charity galas. She wore his gifts. She never looked too closely at the scars on his knuckles, or the men who followed him like shadows. She was perfect. She was safe. She didn't know him at all. Min-jun exhaled, watching his breath fog in the cold November air. 32 years old. King of the underground, commander of the most powerful Korean syndicate on the East Coast. He'd built an empire from nothing: money laundering, protection, control of the docks, silent partnerships with half the city's elite. No one touched his territory. No one said his name without respect or fear. And tonight, he was going to propose. The thought felt like swallowing glass. His phone buzzed. Sophia. I'm at the restaurant, baby. Don't be late. He didn't reply. Instead, he started walking. The plan was simple. Dinner at Le Bernardin. Champagne. The ring. A future that looked clean and uncomplicated. A future where he didn't wake up alone in a penthouse that echoed with ghosts. A future where he stopped thinking about her. But the universe had other plans. Min-jun crossed 57th Street. Hands in his pockets, bodyguards trailing 20 feet behind. The sidewalk was packed. Tourists, shoppers, people living lives that didn't include blood or buried secrets. He moved through them like water, invisible despite his tailored black suit and the cold authority that radiated from him like frost. And then, he saw her. Time didn't stop. It shattered. Across the street, standing in front of a small bookstore, was a woman he thought he'd never see again. Amara, his ex-wife. The only person who ever walked away from him and survived. She looked different. Older, maybe. Her hair was longer, natural curls falling past her shoulders. She wore a simple navy coat, jeans, boots. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked tired, beautiful, real. But it wasn't her that made his heart stop. It was the 2 little girls holding her hands. Identical twins. 4, maybe 5 years old. Dark curls like their mothers. Small winter coats, one pink, one purple. They were laughing at something, faces bright with joy. And their eyes. Min-jun's breath caught. Dark. Almond-shaped. Sharp and clear. His eyes. The world tilted. He stood frozen in the middle of the crosswalk as people pushed past him, horns blaring, the city screaming around him. But all he could see were those 2 little girls. Those eyes. That impossibility made flesh. Amara looked up. Their gazes met across the street. And for one single heartbeat, the most dangerous man in New York felt like a boy who'd lost everything. Her face went pale. Shock. Fear. Something else he couldn't name. Then she grabbed the girl's hands tighter and turned away. Wait. Minjun started moving, but a delivery truck cut between them, blocking his view. When it passed, they were gone, vanished into the crowd like ghosts. He stood there, heart pounding, the rain soaking through his coat. 5 years. She'd been gone for 5 years, and she had his daughters. Later. Minjun's penthouse. Midnight. He didn't go to dinner. He sent Sophia a text. Emergency. I'm sorry. And ignored her 12 phone calls. Now he stood in his living room, 50 floors above the city, staring out at the lights of Manhattan like they held answers. The ring sat on the glass table behind him. Untouched. Forgotten. His head of security, Jay, stood near the door. Silent. Waiting. Find her, Minjun said quietly. Sir? Amara Song, my ex-wife. His voice was flat, controlled, but his hands were shaking. I want to know where she lives, where she works, everything. Jay hesitated. Boss, are you sure? Find her. Yes, sir. Jay left. Minjun poured himself a scotch and didn't drink it. Amara. He hadn't said her name out loud in 5 years, hadn't let himself think about her. Not after she left. Not after she looked at him with those heartbroken eyes and said, I can't be married to a monster. She'd found his ledgers, his records. She'd seen the truth of what he was, what he did. And she'd walked out of their penthouse apartment in the middle of the night and disappeared so completely it was like she'd never existed. He'd looked for her. For months. Used every resource, every contact. Nothing. She was a ghost. And eventually, he stopped searching. He told himself he'd moved on, built his empire higher, made more money, earned more fear, started dating Sophia because she was easy and elegant and didn't ask questions. But now, those girls, 4 years old. The math was simple, brutal. If they were his, she'd been pregnant when she left. Pregnant. And she never told him. Minjun's hand tightened around the glass. Rage simmered beneath his skin. Hurt. Confusion. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. He had daughters, 2 of them, and the woman he'd never stopped loving had kept them from him. His phone buzzed. Sophia again. He turned it off. Tomorrow he would find Amara. Tomorrow he would get answers. Tonight he stood in the dark and let himself remember what it felt like to break. Amara didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed in the small apartment in Brooklyn, hands trembling, staring at the wall like it might offer salvation. The twins were asleep in the next room. Mia and Zara, her whole world, curled up together under a quilt her mother had made. He saw them. The thought was a knife. Minjun, standing across the street, looking at her daughters with those sharp, lethal eyes that had once looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She'd run, grabbed the girls and disappeared into the nearest subway station, her heart pounding so hard she thought it would break her ribs. She'd checked over her shoulder 20 times on the train, locked every door in the apartment twice, but she knew. He would find her. Men like Minjun always did. Amara pressed her palms to her face, exhaustion burning behind her eyes. She'd spent 5 years building a life where he couldn't reach her, changed her name, paid cash for everything, worked under the table as a freelance graphic designer, homeschooled the girls, kept them safe, and in 30 seconds, it all came crashing down. He saw them. He knows. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. Her stomach dropped. She stared at it. Let it ring. But when it buzzed again, a text this time, her hand moved on instinct. The message was short. We need to talk. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Brooklyn Bridge Park. Come alone. MJ. Amara's breath stopped. MJ, Minjun. He'd found her. Already. Of course he had. She wanted to throw the phone across the room. She wanted to scream. But instead, she sat in the dark and thought about her daughters sleeping in the next room. Thought about the man who'd once promised to give her the world and then drowned it in blood. She typed back, "If you come near my girls, I'll disappear again, and you'll never find us." The reply came instantly. "They're my girls too. 2 p.m. Don't make me come to you." Amara closed her eyes and knew she had no choice. The next day. Brooklyn Bridge Park. 2 p.m. The wind off the East River was sharp and cold. Min-jun stood near the water, hands in his coat pockets, watching the skyline. He'd come alone. No bodyguards, no weapons, nothing but the weight of 5 years and a truth he wasn't ready for. She was late. He didn't blame her. At 2:17, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. Amara stood 20 feet away, arms crossed, her face a mask of defiance and fear. She looked small against the city. Fragile. But her eyes were hard. "You shouldn't have contacted me," she said. Min-jun's chest tightened. Hearing her voice again felt like drowning. "You shouldn't have run." "I didn't run. I left." Her voice was cold. Sharp. "There's a difference. You were pregnant." Silence. The accusation hung between them like smoke. Amara's jaw tightened. "Yes. And you didn't tell me." "No." "Why?" She laughed, bitter, broken. "Are you seriously asking me that?" Min-jun took a step closer. She didn't move. "I had a right to know." "You lost that right the night I found your ledgers, Min-jun." Her voice cracked. "You lost it when I realized the man I married wasn't real. That everything was built on lies and blood. I never lied to you. You never told me the truth." Tears burned in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I thought you were a businessman. I thought the late nights, the security, the money. I thought it was legitimate. And then I found the records, the names, the deals, the—" She stopped, swallowed. "You're a criminal, Min-jun. A monster." The word hit him like a bullet. He'd heard it before, from enemies, from men who feared him, but never from her. "I protected you," he said quietly. "You lied to me. I gave you everything. You gave me a cage." Amara's voice broke. "A beautiful, expensive cage where I didn't know my own husband, where I smiled at parties with people who laundered money and traded in violence. I was complicit, Min-jun, and I didn't even know it." Min-jun's hands curled into fists. "So you ran, took my children, disappeared. I saved them. From me?" "Yes." The word was a blade. He stared at her. This woman he'd loved more than power, more than empire. The woman who'd left him hollow. "They're mine," he said, voice low. "Dangerous." Amara's chin lifted. "They're mine. I carried them. I raised them. You don't get to... I want to meet them." "No." "Amara. No." She stepped back. "You don't get to walk into their lives because you saw them on a street. You don't get to be their father just because you... I am their father. Biology doesn't make you a parent." Her voice was shaking now. "Love does. Sacrifice does. Being there does. And you weren't. You'll never be." Min-jun felt something crack inside him. "I didn't know," he said, and his voice was raw, broken. "You didn't give me the chance." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "I know what you are," she whispered, "and I won't let you turn them into that." She turned to leave. "Amara, stay away from us, Min-jun." And she walked away. He stood there, the wind cutting through him, and watched her disappear into the city. For the first time in his life, Min-jun didn't know what to do. He'd built kingdoms, but he couldn't reach his own daughters. Min-jun didn't listen. He never did. For 3 days, he had Amara followed. Not by his men. He knew she'd spot them. Instead, he hired a private investigator. Discreet, professional. Someone who could watch without being seen. The reports came back in careful detail. Amara lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Sunset Park. She worked from home as a freelance designer. The twins, Mia and Zara, didn't go to school. Amara homeschooled them. They went to the park twice a week, the library on Thursdays, a small community center for art classes on Saturdays. They had routines, safe, small routines. And Minjun watched from a distance, hungry for details. Mia liked to draw. Zara loved books. They both had his sharp eyes and Amara's soft laugh. They held hands when they crossed the street. They called their mother Mama, in voices that sounded like music. And they had no idea he existed. The knowledge was unbearable. On the 4th day, Minjun made a decision. He drove to Sunset Park himself. No guards, no plan. Just a desperate need to be close to them. He parked across from the small playground near Amara's building and waited. At 3:47 p.m., they appeared. Amara, holding both girls' hands, walking toward the swings. She looked tired, beautiful, wary. She scanned the street like she was looking for threats, looking for him. Minjun stayed in the car. He watched Mia climb onto a swing. Watched Zara try to follow and stumble. Watched Amara catch her, laughing, lifting her up. The sound carried across the park, pure joy, unguarded. And something inside him shattered. He'd spent 5 years building power, control, an empire of silence and fear, but he would trade it all for 10 minutes on that playground. He didn't realize he was crying until the tears blurred his vision. That night, he called Sophia. Minjun? Her voice was careful, hurt. You've been ignoring me for days. I know. He stood at his penthouse window. The city sprawled below him like a kingdom he no longer wanted. I'm sorry. What's going on? Silence. Minjun, I can't marry you. The words fell like stones. Sophia's breath hitched. What? I'm sorry, Sophia. You deserve better than this. Better than me. Is there someone else? Yes. It's complicated. That's not an answer. I'm ending this. I'm sorry. He hung up, threw the phone across the room, and stood there, alone, the ring still sitting on the table where he'd left it days ago. He'd chosen. And it hadn't even been a choice. 1 week later, Amara knew he was watching. She felt it every time she left the apartment. Every time she took the girls to the park. She didn't see him. Minjun was too smart for that. But she felt him. Like a shadow. Like gravity. It terrified her. And it broke her heart. Because she knew what it meant. He wasn't going to let go. On a cold Friday afternoon, her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another text. I won't approach them. I won't interfere. But please let me see them, even from a distance. I just need to know they're real. Amara stared at the message, hands shaking. She should say no. She should block the number. Move again. Disappear. But the words on the screen were so raw, so broken. And against every instinct, every fear, every wall she'd built. She typed back. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Sunset Park Playground. You stay in your car. You don't approach. You don't speak to them. If you break this, I disappear forever. His reply was instant. Thank you. Amara closed her eyes and prayed she wasn't making the worst mistake of her life. The next day, Sunset Park, 4 p.m. Minjun sat in his car, heart pounding, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. She'd said yes. He could see them. At 4:03, Amara appeared with the twins. Mia wore the pink coat. Zara wore purple. They ran ahead to the swings, laughing, while Amara followed slowly, her eyes scanning the street. She found his car. Their gazes met. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just gave him a small warning nod. "Stay there." Minjun nodded back and watched. For 30 minutes, he sat in that car and watched his daughters play, watched them chase each other, watched them fall and get back up, watched them exist in a world he wasn't part of. And it was the most painful, beautiful thing he'd ever experienced. When Amara finally gathered the girls to leave, Mia looked toward his car. Their eyes met. She smiled, bright, innocent, unaware, and waved. Minjun's breath stopped. He lifted his hand, waved back. Mia giggled and ran to her mother. Amara took their hands and walked away. And Minjun sat there, tears streaming down his face, knowing he'd just fallen in love with 2 little girls who didn't even know his name. Before we start, a quick note. Channel members get access to exclusive videos, content that doesn't always go public, and early access to new uploads up to 1 month before they're released. Just click Join here on YouTube. And for those who would like to support the channel RK Unsaid, your contribution helps the team continue investing in better tools and higher quality production. Now, let's get into the video. The arrangement became a ritual. Every Saturday at 4 p.m., Minjun would park across from Sunset Park and watch his daughters play. He never approached, never spoke, never broke the invisible line Amara had drawn. But he was there, a silent presence in a black sedan, hungrier for those stolen moments than he'd ever been for power. Amara pretended not to notice, but he saw the way her shoulders tensed when she spotted his car, saw the way she kept the girls closer. She hated this, hated him, but she allowed it. And that small mercy felt like redemption. For 3 weeks, nothing changed, until the day everything did. It started with a phone call. Minjun was in a meeting with his lieutenants, 6 men who controlled different sectors of his empire, when Jay entered the room, face tight with urgency. "Boss, we have a problem." Minjun's eyes narrowed. "What kind of problem?" "The Volkov Bratva. They're pushing into Red Hook. Hit 2 of our distribution points last night. Send a message." Silence filled the room like ice. The Volkov family. Russian mob, brutal, reckless. They'd been testing his borders for months, and Minjun had shown restraint, strategic warnings, calculated pressure. But this was different. This was a declaration of war. "What's the message?" Minjun asked, voice dangerously calm. Jay hesitated. "They want a meeting. Tomorrow night. Neutral ground. They said if you don't show, they'll burn Red Hook to the ground." One of his men slammed a fist on the table. "It's a trap, boss. We hit them first." "No." Minjun's voice cut through the room like a blade. "No retaliation. Not yet." "But," I said no. He stood, authority radiating from him like frost. "Set up the meeting. I'll handle it." Jay nodded. "Yes, sir." The men filed out, uneasy but obedient. Minjun stayed behind, staring at the city through the window. War was coming, and for the first time in his life, he had something to lose. That night, he sat in his car outside Amara's building. He shouldn't be here. It was Tuesday, not their arranged day. But the weight of what was coming pressed on him like gravity, and he needed to see them, needed to know they were safe. At 7:32 p.m., the lights in Amara's apartment went on. He could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Amara. The girls. A normal evening. Dinner. Bath time. Stories. A life he wasn't part of. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Watching someone, Mr. Choi? Careful. Obsession makes men sloppy." Minjun's blood turned to ice. He scanned the street, empty, dark. But he felt eyes on him, felt the threat like a knife at his throat. Another text. Beautiful family. It would be a shame if something happened to them. His heart stopped. No. He dialed Jay. I need a full security detail on Sunset Park. Now. 24-hour surveillance. No one gets near that building. Boss, what's going on? Just do it. He hung up, stared at Amara's window, and realized the worst thing he'd ever done wasn't the blood on his hands. It was bringing danger to the only people who mattered. The next morning, Amara was making breakfast when someone knocked on her door. She froze. No one knocked on her door. No one even knew where she lived except Min Jun. She checked the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway. Mid-30s. Professional suit. Calm expression. Amara opened the door a crack, chain lock still in place. Can I help you? The woman smiled. Ms. Song? My name is Agent Sarah Chen. I'm with the FBI. May I come in? Amara's stomach dropped. What is this about? It's about Min Jun Choi, your ex-husband. The world tilted. I don't know what you're talking about. Ms. Song, we know about your relationship with Mr. Choi. We know about your daughters. Agent Chen's voice was gentle but firm. And we know he's been watching you. We need to talk. It's urgent. Amara's hands shook. She looked back at the girls, playing with blocks in the living room, oblivious. Give me a minute, she whispered. She called her neighbor, Mrs. Park, a kind elderly woman who sometimes watched the twins, and asked her to come over. When Mrs. Park arrived, Amara stepped into the hallway with Agent Chen, heart pounding. What do you want? Amara asked, voice tight. We've been investigating Min Jun Choi for 3 years, Chen said quietly. Money laundering, racketeering, organized crime. We're close to building a case, but we need evidence. And we think you might be able to help us. Amara's chest tightened. I haven't seen him in 5 years. But he's seen you, recently. We have surveillance photos. Chen pulled out a folder. Inside were images. Min Jun's car parked outside the playground. Min Jun watching from a distance. Amara felt sick. We're not here to threaten you, Chen continued. But you need to understand. Min Jun Choi is dangerous. And if he's back in your life, you and your daughters are at risk. Not just from him. From his enemies. He would never hurt us. Maybe not intentionally. But his world is violent, Ms. Song. People die. And the people close to him, they become targets. Amara closed her eyes. She'd known this. Of course she'd known this. That's why she'd left. What do you want from me? She whispered. Help us put him away. Testify. Give us whatever information you have from your marriage, financial records, contacts, anything. I don't have anything. Then wear a wire. Meet with him. Get him to talk. Amara's eyes snapped open. You want me to betray him? We want you to protect your daughters. The words hit like a hammer. Chen handed her a business card. Think about it. But don't take too long. War is coming, Ms. Song. And when it does, no one is safe. She walked away. Amara stood in the hallway, card trembling in her hand, and felt the walls closing in. Saturday, 4 p.m., Sunset Park. Min Jun was late. Amara waited on the bench near the swings, the girls playing nearby, her heart racing. At 4:23, his car pulled up. He didn't get out, just sat there, staring. Amara's phone buzzed. I'm sorry I'm late. Had to make sure no one followed me. She looked at his car, saw the exhaustion in his posture even from a distance. She typed back, We need to talk, in person. His reply was immediate. When? Tonight, after the girls are asleep. My apartment. 9 p.m. Are you sure? Amara stared at the message. No. She wasn't sure about anything anymore. But Agent Chen's words echoed in her mind. War is coming, and Amara needed to know. Was Min Jun still the man she'd run from? Or was there something left worth saving? She typed, yes. Come alone. 9 p.m., Amara's apartment. The knock was soft. Amara opened the door. Min Jun stood in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. No guards, no armor. Just a man standing at the threshold of a life he'd lost. Hi, he said quietly. Hi. She let him in. The apartment was small, modest, nothing like the penthouse they'd shared. But it was warm, lived in. Photos of the girls covered the walls, drawings, books, life. Min Jun looked around like he was seeing heaven. They're asleep? He asked. Yes. He nodded, stood awkwardly near the door. Amara gestured to the couch. Sit. He did. She sat across from him, a coffee table between them like a border. Silence. You have a nice home, he said finally. It's small. It's perfect. Amara's throat tightened. Why are you here, Min Jun? You asked me to come. No, why are you here? In my life, watching us, texting me. What do you want? He looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw the answer in his eyes before he spoke. I want to be their father. The words hung in the air. Amara shook her head. You don't get to just decide that. I know. His voice cracked. I know I don't deserve it. I know I have no right. But Amara, they're mine. And He stopped, swallowed. I've spent 5 years building an empire I don't even want anymore. I've made myself into something I hate. But those girls... His voice broke. They're the only good thing I've ever made. Tears burned in Amara's eyes. You're a criminal, she whispered. I know. You've hurt people. I know. You're dangerous. Not to them. Never to them. You can't promise that. Amara's voice rose. Your world is dangerous, Min Jun. Your enemies. The FBI is watching you. The Russians are threatening you. And now... She stopped. Took a breath. Now my daughters are in the middle of it. Because of you. Min Jun went still. What are you talking about? Amara pulled out Agent Chen's card, threw it on the table. Min Jun picked it up, read it. His face went white. They came to you? Yesterday. What did they say? They want me to help them build a case against you. They want me to wear a wire. To betray you. Min Jun's hands curled into fists. And I told them to leave. He looked up, shock in his eyes. I told them I don't have anything, that I haven't seen you in years, that they're wasting their time. Amara's voice shook. I lied for you, Min Jun. Even after everything. Even though I should help them. I lied. Why? Because you're their father. Tears spilled down her cheeks. And I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm protecting them or destroying them. I don't know if letting you into their lives is the worst mistake I'll ever make. But I look at you and She broke. I see the man I loved. And I hate that I still do. Min Jun stood, crossed the space between them, knelt in front of her. I'll leave, he said, voice raw. I'll walk away. I'll disappear. If that's what's safest for them, for you, I'll do it. I'll give up everything. Amara stared at him, tears streaming. Do you mean that? Yes. You'd give up your empire, your power, everything you've built? Min Jun looked at her with eyes full of pain and truth. I'd give up the world for them. And Amara believed him. She reached out, touched his face. Then prove it. Min Jun didn't go home that night. He stayed. Amara made tea. They sat in the small kitchen, the city humming beyond the windows, and for the first time in 5 years they talked. Not about the past. Not yet. About the girls. Mia loves art, Amara said softly, hands wrapped around her mug. She draws constantly. Imaginary worlds, castles, dragons. She has this imagination. Minjun smiled. Like you. Amara's breath caught. You remember. I remember everything. Silence. Fragile. Aching. And Zara? He asked. Zara is fierce, protective. She's the one who checks under the bed for monsters, who makes sure Mia eats her vegetables. She's 4 years old and already trying to save the world. Like you, Minjun said again. Amara's eyes filled. They're so good, Minjun, so pure. And I'm terrified every day that the world is going to break them. It won't. You don't know that. I won't let it. His voice was steel. Promise. Whatever it takes, I'll keep them safe. Amara looked at him. This man who'd built kingdoms on violence, who'd made himself into something brutal and untouchable, and saw the truth in his eyes. He meant it. The FBI won't stop, she said quietly. And your enemies. Agent Chen said war is coming. It is. What are you going to do? Minjun was silent for a long moment. Then he said the words that would change everything. I'm going to end it. The next morning, Minjun's headquarters. His lieutenants gathered in the war room, a private office in a legitimate import-export business that served as the nerve center of his empire. Maps on the walls, ledgers, burner phones. Jay stood at Minjun's side, wary. The Volkov meeting is tonight, Jay said. We have 20 men ready. Full tactical. Cancel it. Everyone froze. Boss? Cancel the meeting. Call Dmitry Volkov directly. Tell him I'm offering a deal. A deal? One of the lieutenants, Marcus, a hard man with scarred knuckles, stepped forward. They hit our territory. Threatened us. And you want to make a deal? Yes. That's weakness. That's strategy. Minjun's voice was cold, absolute. War costs money, lives, attention. The feds are circling. Every move we make right now is watched. So we don't fight. We negotiate. And if they refuse, they won't. Dimitri's smart. He knows a long war bleeds both sides. I'll offer him Red Hook, joint territory, 60-40 split. He gets face. We get peace. Marcus's jaw tightened. You're giving up territory for nothing? I'm giving up territory for time. Time for what? Minjun looked at each of them, men who'd followed him for years, who'd built this empire at his side. I'm getting out. The room erupted. You can't be serious. Boss, this is insane. Enough. Minjun's voice cut through the chaos. I've made my decision. I'm negotiating peace with the Volkovs. I'm closing the riskier operations, liquidating assets, and in 6 months, I'm stepping back. Stepping back to what? A legitimate life. Silence. Shocked. Disbelieving. Jay spoke carefully. Boss, what brought this on? Minjun didn't answer directly. Instead, he pulled out his phone. Showed them a photo. One he'd taken from his car. Mia and Zara on the swings, laughing, faces bright with joy. I have daughters, he said quietly, and they deserve a father who doesn't live in the shadows. No one spoke. You can stay or go, Minjun continued. I'll make sure everyone is taken care of. But I'm done building an empire on blood. I'm done being a monster. Marcus shook his head. You think you can just walk away? That the feds will let you? That your enemies will? I'll make them. How? Minjun's eyes were hard, determined. By giving them everything they want. That night, FBI field office. Agent Sarah Chen sat in her office reviewing case files when her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Chen. Agent Chen. My name is Minjun Choi. She sat up straight. Mr. Choi, this is unexpected. I have a deal for you. I'm listening. I'll give you everything. Names, contacts, financial records, offshore accounts. Every piece of evidence you need to dismantle my operation and prosecute the people who've been enabling it. Politicians, bankers, everyone. Chen's heart raced. In exchange for immunity, witness protection for my family, and a clean slate. Your family? My ex-wife and daughters. They get new identities, safety, a life away from all of this. And I walk away. No charges, no jail time. You're asking for a lot. I'm offering a lot. You've been chasing me for 3 years with nothing. I'm handing you the entire operation. Take it or leave it. Chen leaned back. This was huge, unprecedented. I'll need to bring this to my superiors. You have 24 hours. That's not enough time. Then make it enough. Clock's ticking, Agent. He hung up. Chen stared at her phone, pulse pounding. This was it. The break they'd been waiting for. And Min-jun Choi, the most untouchable criminal in New York, was offering to burn his own empire to the ground. For his family. Saturday, 4 p.m., Sunset Park. Amara sat on the bench, watching the girls play, her mind a hurricane. Min-jun's car wasn't there. He'd texted her that morning. I'm fixing this. Trust me. I'll be there tomorrow. I promise. And then nothing. She didn't know what he was doing. Didn't know if she should believe him. But she wanted to. God, she wanted to. Her phone buzzed. Agent Chen. Amara's stomach dropped. She answered. Hello? Ms. Song, we need to meet. Now. 1 hour later, coffee shop in Park Slope. Chen sat across from Amara, expression unreadable. Min-jun Choi contacted us, she said without preamble. Amara's breath stopped. What? He's offering full cooperation. Evidence, testimony, everything we need to take down his entire network. Amara felt dizzy. Why would he, in exchange for immunity? And witness protection for you and your daughters? The world tilted. He's doing this for you, Chen said quietly. For them. He's willing to destroy everything he's built if it means keeping you safe. Tears burned in Amara's eyes. What? What happens now? If the deal goes through, you'll be relocated. New identities, new life. Completely off the grid. Safe. And Min-jun? He walks, stays in New York. But he'll have no ties to organized crime. The deal includes strict monitoring for 5 years. If he steps out of line, immunity is revoked. Amara's hands shook. Does he get to see them? The girls? Chen hesitated. That would be up to you. Amara closed her eyes. He was giving up everything. Power, empire. The only life he'd ever known. For her. For their daughters. And she had to decide if that was enough. There's one more thing, Chen said. The deal includes testimony against some very dangerous people. Politicians, crime families. If Min-jun goes through with this, he'll have enemies for life. He'll never be truly safe. Then why is he doing it? Chen looked at her with something like respect. I think you know why. Amara did. Because love was stronger than fear. Because his daughter's futures mattered more than his past. Because he was choosing to be the man he should have been all along. When do I have to decide? Amara whispered. You don't. He does. The deal goes forward with or without your blessing. But he wanted you to know. Wanted you to have a choice. Amara stood, walked out into the cold, and cried. 3 months later, spring came to New York like forgiveness. The cherry blossoms in Sunset Park bloomed pink and soft, petals drifting through the air like snow. The playground filled with laughter. The world kept turning, and Min-jun Choi learned what it meant to live. The deal had gone through. He'd spent 6 weeks in federal custody, giving testimony, handing over evidence, dismantling an empire he'd built over a decade. Names, accounts, connections, everything. 12 people were indicted. 4 politicians resigned. 3 crime families fractured. And Min Jun walked away. Free. Monitored. Watched. But free. Amara hadn't relocated. When Agent Chen offered her witness protection, Amara had looked at the business card, at the promise of a new life far away from the past, and said, "No. Ms. Song, it's the safest option." "I'm tired of running," Amara said quietly. "I spent 5 years hiding, building walls, and I'm done. Min Jun is giving up everything to protect us. The least I can do is let him try." So she stayed and waited. Saturday, 4 p.m., Sunset Park. Min Jun stood at the edge of the playground, hands in his pockets, heart pounding. This was different. For 3 months, he'd watched from a distance, texted, waited. But today, Amara had said yes. He saw her sitting on the bench, the girls playing nearby, and walked over slowly, each step feeling like crossing an ocean. Amara looked up. Their eyes met. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi." He sat beside her, close but not touching. They watched the girls in silence. "They don't know who you are," Amara said quietly. "I know. If we do this, if I let you into their lives, you can't leave. You can't decide this is too hard and disappear. They deserve better." "I know. Do you?" Amara turned to him, eyes fierce. "Because this isn't the empire, Min Jun. This is bedtime stories and scraped knees and school projects. This is showing up, every day, even when it's boring, even when it's hard." "I want that," Min Jun said, voice raw. "I want all of it." Amara searched his face, saw the truth there. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Okay." Min Jun's breath caught. Amara stood, took his hand. "Come on." She led him toward the swings. Mia and Zara looked up, curious, cautious. "Girls," Amara said gently, kneeling down. "There's someone I want you to meet." Min Jun knelt beside her, heart in his throat. Up close, they were even more beautiful. Mia's paint-stained fingers, Zara's serious eyes. Perfect. His. "This is Min Jun," Amara said softly. He's your father." The girls blinked. "Our daddy?" Mia asked, voice small. Min Jun's eyes burned. "Yes, if that's okay." Zara tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made his chest ache. "Where were you?" she asked. Simple question. Devastating. Min Jun swallowed. "I was. Lost. But I found my way back." "Are you staying?" "Yes, if you'll let me." Mia looked at Amara. "Mama?" Amara nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes, baby, he's staying." Mia smiled, bright, gap-toothed, trusting. And then she did something that shattered Min Jun completely. She walked over. Put her small hand in his. "Okay," she said simply. Zara followed, took his other hand, and Min Jun, the man who'd commanded an empire, who'd never let himself break, started crying. Amara wrapped her arms around all of them, and for the first time in 5 years, they were a family. 6 months later, Min Jun stood in the small kitchen of Amara's apartment, their apartment now, making pancakes while the girls argued over which cartoon to watch. "Frozen! No, Moana!" "Girls, compromise," Amara called from the bathroom, laughing. Min Jun smiled. This was his life now. No empire, no power, no guards or guns or midnight calls. Just this. Pancakes and cartoons and the sound of his daughter's laughter. He worked as a consultant now. Legitimate business strategy for small companies. It was honest work, boring sometimes, but clean. The feds still monitored him, checked in every month, made sure he stayed straight. He didn't mind, because every night he came home to this. Mia ran into the kitchen. "Daddy, can you make the pancakes into Mickey Mouse?" "I can try." She beamed and ran back to the couch. Daddy. He'd never get tired of hearing that. Amara emerged from the bathroom, hair damp, wearing one of his old sweatshirts. She looked at him, smiled. "You're getting good at this," she said. "Took a while." She crossed to him, wrapped her arms around his waist. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. Minjun turned, kissed her forehead. "I should have chosen this years ago. You chose it now. That's what matters." They stood there, holding each other, while the girls giggled in the next room. "Do you miss it?" Amara asked quietly. "The power, the control." Minjun looked at her, at the life they'd built from ashes. "No," he said honestly. "I traded an empire for a family. And I'd do it again. Every time." Amara's eyes filled. "I love you. I love you too." She kissed him, soft, deep, full of promise. And when they pulled apart, Mia was standing in the doorway grinning. "Ew, they're kissing!" Zara appeared beside her. "Gross!" Minjun laughed. "Come here, you two." He scooped them both up, one in each arm, and they shrieked with delight. Amara watched, heart full, tears streaming. This was healing. This was redemption. This was love. 1 year later, they moved to a small house in Queens, 3 bedrooms. A backyard. Space for the girls to run and play and grow. Minjun taught Mia how to draw buildings, showed her how lines and perspective worked, how imagination became reality on paper. He taught Zara how to be brave and gentle, how strength didn't mean hardness, how protecting people meant listening to them first. He learned their favorite foods, their fears, their dreams. He showed up to every art class, every library trip, every moment. And slowly, day by day, pancake by pancake, he became the father they deserved. Amara watched him transform. The sharp edges softened. The nightmares faded. The man who'd once ruled through fear learned to lead with love. They remarried on a quiet afternoon in the backyard, just the 4 of them and a justice of the peace. Mia and Zara wore matching flower crowns. Minjun cried through his vows. Amara held his hands and promised, again, to choose him. Every day. And when he slipped the ring on her finger, the weight of it felt like home. Present day. Minjun sat on the back porch, watching the girls play in the yard. They were 7 now. Bright, beautiful, safe. Amara sat beside him, head on his shoulder. "Happy?" she asked. "More than I deserve. You deserve this. You earned this." He kissed the top of her head. The sun was setting, gold and pink and soft. Inside the house, dinner was cooking. Homework waited. Bedtime stories would follow. Tomorrow he'd take the girls to school, go to work, come home, make dinner. It was ordinary, simple, perfect. He'd given up an empire and found a kingdom. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For letting me come home." Amara smiled. "You were always home, Minjun. You just had to find your way back." They sat there, watching their daughters play, and knew this was the life they were always meant to build. Together. The end. Safety and monetization. Check. Chapter 06. YouTube safety score, 10 to 10 monetization. Risk, low final decision, safe to publish, no changes needed. Explanation. Chapter 06 delivers a deeply satisfying, emotionally uplifting conclusion. No violence, no explicit content. The narrative focuses on healing, family bonding, redemption, and the beauty of choosing love over power. Positive themes of transformation, fatherhood, and second chances make this fully monetizable and perfect for broad audiences. The ending provides strong emotional relief and hope, exactly what viewers need for a happy, complete resolution.